Good evening, and you are most welcome back to another episode of the Leitrim GAA podcast. It has been a fantastic weekend's action in the opening rounds of the Connacht Gold Senior Football Championship and, of course, the Smith Monumentals Intermediate Football Championship. A little bit of a head start for two of the teams, Annaduff and Dromahair doing battle on Saturday evening as well. We'll bring you updates from all of those games across the next hour or so, but we have an absolutely jam-packed show for you this evening. We're going to be hearing from Paul Moran, who made his debut and impressed on our new Team of the Week feature, and we'll be hearing from him later on in the programme, while we catch up with Hugh Moylan, centre-back with Annaduff, about their season so far. We'll get some post-match reaction from Keith Beirne, Paul Pryor, and from Archie Green after their clash, say Archie Green and Paul Pryor's clash at least, in Glencar Manor, Hamilton on Friday night, while Keith Beirne brings us up to date with everything, his thoughts on the game against St Mary's on Friday night. We'll have a full roundup of all of the games across the championship, as well as a little look forward to the start of the LGFA season and the Senior and Intermediate Ladies Football Championships that kick off next Saturday evening. But I suppose one other thing we better mention at the very outset of the show is, of course, our new Leitrim GAA Club Championship Guide for 2022. And it is 224 pages, action-packed, with profiles, articles, little bits of statistics, and all sorts of other information that you're going to love if you're following the Leitrim Club Championships this summer, both men's, women's, and the hurlers indeed. Every single player who's likely to feature with any of those first teams in this year's competitions across the county. That, of course, can be purchased through shops from the middle of this week. But also, if you want to get your hands on that guide first before anyone else gets a chance to get their grubby fingers on it, you can buy it online, pre-order it on our website, and it will arrive into your house through the post at the same time as it hits the shelves. Same price, free postage, €15. We would recommend please support what we're doing here by purchasing the guide. But I think you'll absolutely love it. Really well received last year, and I'm sure there will be plenty of similar, hopefully, comments later this year. But first, let's get on with the action. You haven't come to listen to me talk about our guide for the summer. Let's catch up with some of the post-match reaction from the games on Friday night. We start in Manor Hamilton, where Leitrim Gaels ran out winners despite a very, very close scare at the very, very end of the game. I caught up with both managers immediately after the game, and here's what they had to say to me. First up, Paul Pryor, Leitrim Gaels.
Paul Pryor, first game out, Manor, victory. You got to be happy with that?
Yes, of course. Any win the championship is a good win. Wasn't pretty, it was fairly scrappy, but a win is a win, we'll take it.
In terms of the actual game, you started well, but just couldn't quite seem to find the sweet spot of shooting from distance. You missed a couple of relatively scoreable chances in the first 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, we did. We were well on top. We settled very well, but some of the shot selection wasn't great. A few bad wides, but we definitely settled into the game. Just couldn't make a count on the scoreboard.
In terms of, I suppose, that middle half of around either side of half time, when you kind of started going into the game, that penalty miss on the penalty score on the other end probably was the turning point of the game in terms of where you came into it.
Yeah, huge turnaround. And Brendan Flynn is renowned for that. He saved 2 in the championship last year. It was a brilliant save again tonight. And Stephen Goldrick put his away, and that's the difference. Yeah, that set us on our way.
What was the thoughts going through your mind through that injury time? You went into it 7 points up. You came out of it a couple of inches away from a draw.
Yeah. Look, I think we would have been unlucky if we'd have lost that game or drawn that game. We were definitely the better side, but there seemed a lot of injury time. I don't know where it all came out of. But yeah, look, you're always on the ropes at the end. Lads are getting nervous. First game of the championship, first game for a lot of lads for a long time. So yeah, look, we'll take the win and move on.
In terms of the overall championship picture, obviously you're going week to week. You don't even know who you're playing next week as it stands. As a manager, how much of a drawback is that?
Huge, because not only don't know who you're playing, but you can't plan for training days because we don't know for Friday night or Saturday night. So yeah, it's very difficult.
How do you cope with that?
How do we? Look, we just, we get on with it. I suppose every team is in the same boat. I suppose at least we're Friday, so the earliest we can play again is Friday, so we're getting a full week rather than Saturday, Friday. So yeah, look, we'll just get on with it. Everyone's in the same situation.
What's your preference in terms of the draw? Would you rather get someone who would be deemed as a big name, or is one of the lower lights What's on your wish list in terms of the draw on Sunday?
I don't know. Look, there are no easy games. It's always difficult. We're just glad we'll be home again the next round, which is big. Like to win here tonight away from home, especially in Manor, it's a very difficult place to come and get a result. So yeah, we'll just drive on from here.
Excellent. Well done tonight.
Thank you very much.
Tough to take in the way the manner it finished, but 3-point defeat here for yourself and your Manorhampton side.
Yeah, listen, it was going to be a tough first round game. Leitrim Gaels coming back and probably boosted by the likes of Casey and Breifne coming back in the team. Like we knew it was going to be a difficult task with the quality they were bringing in, but we were confident of coming out with the right result. Probably the first 15 minutes it didn't really materialise, it didn't happen for us, and we were kind of chasing the game. But the boys battled, hard, and as I say, unfortunately at the wrong end of the result at the end of the game.
The first 15 minutes, it looked like Leitrim Gaels might blow you away with the amount of domination in terms of possession. They couldn't quite make that count on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
You came into it, you led at half time. You looked like you were going to push on at that point. And then probably the turning point was probably the penalty. Talk us through what was going on in your mind at that point.
No, you're right there. Like Morton, midfield, he wasn't playing the last day of the league, was winning possession. And in fairness, we had a couple of young lads making their debut. Probably the penalty, we'd seen it as probably an opportunity for us to get a foothold in the game. And as I say, it was an excellent save by the county keeper Flynn, and they went up and got the tails up and got the goal, which probably turned the game in their favour. But we were probably struggling in our quality play to win ball to primary possession in the middle of the park, and fairness, Leitrim Gaels probably had done their homework on us. Evan was playing very well there, and obviously Fran came in there for his first game in 3 months, and Ronan Flynn's been out for 3 months. So as disappointed as we are, and the lads will be hugely disappointed, there's men hopefully that will benefit the game of football to them, but listen, Leitrim's tough championship, every team in any day can win, so we have to dust ourselves down and keep going and get to the next game. 7
points down going into injury time, you brought it back to 3, you had a chance to steal a draw at the end.
Yeah, he probably would have stole it, but I think it came off the post. It was nerve-wracking, but in fairness to the boys for that last 5 minutes, in injury time, they put the shoulder to the wheel, and obviously teams drop off a wee bit and the pressure comes on. So who knows? We probably would have stole it, but I suppose the lads showed a bit of character, and hopefully they take that into training next week, and we look for a positive result next week.
Another game next week. Any concerns or injuries or anything like that from tonight?
Hopefully not. Hopefully with a young, as I say, Fran, Ronan Flynn, who's been out of football for 3 months. I know young Tom Hughes was away for a month there, so we try to integrate. We have a lot of young boys making their debut. Barry McNulty, Cathalogue, these are young guys that are learning, and they're disappointed, obviously coming off as their championship debut, but they'll definitely learn. And listen, we'll come back to the table next week. It's a tough Leitrim championship. It's unforgiving, but you have to learn quick.
Thanks very much, Martin.
Thank you.
And of course, Martin Green there and Paul Pryor, the two managers after that game. Leitrim Gaels running out winners and scoring 3-10 to 16 points in that opening game. Of course, also in action on Friday night were Mohill. They made the trip to Carrick to take on St Mary's in a repeat of the final from 2 years ago, and of course the league final from earlier this month. Keith Beirne, of course, on the show, 9 points from him in a commanding victory for Mohill in that particular clash. Here's what he had to say to Denise O'Flaherty after the game.
Beirne, a winning start to the championship. 114, 9 points, but the scoreline doesn't really reflect, I suppose, the game, because the Marys really put it up to you.
Yeah, no, we played Marys last week in a league final, and it was a point in it at the end, so we do come in here today, their backyard, they wanted vengeance, and you can see it was nip and tuck the whole game. We just got a goal probably at the right time, and that meant they had to chase, and in the second half it was tight, then they had to really push on, and then we just kind of got ahead in the end. But there's nothing between, this championship's going to be very, very tight. There's nothing between a lot of teams.
Yeah, for a while it looked as if that goal was going to be decisive, because they cut the gap to 3 points, and then you got 2 frees just before half time to kind of give yourself that gap again going in at the break.
Yeah, no, look, they're little things, they miss 2 or 3 and then we get 1 or 2. That's a 2 point swing when they miss 1 and we get 1. So it's just probably they're kind of a bit younger, so that will come with them, so it's going to be a lot tighter coming near the end.
Have to say, you done the scoring, but your backs did a great job, and in particular I think Shane Quinn, seemed like he was the jolly green giant. He was everywhere.
Yeah, no, look, we were working on a lot of things, and like our backs the last day we kind of done a bit of criticism on them for letting a few handy shots off, and then you've seen there today, like they were just jumping from 20 yards away blocking absolutely everything, so like that's huge for us. That gives us momentum going forward. We see them doing that for us, so we know we have to work for them.
It's all about, I suppose, getting that win, that first win in the championship.
Yeah, no one wants to lose the first day. Like it sets the mood, especially you're playing 2 weeks now in a row. Like, so you start winning, you keep the ball rolling, and it makes it a lot easier coming training Sunday morning, Tuesday evening.
Final score there in that particular clash was, of course, Mohill 114, St Mary's 9 points. Now, Keith Beirne, as you mentioned, scored 9 of those 14 points for Mohill in that game on Saturday, and then, of course, was picked in our first ever Team of the Week for the Leitrim Club Championships. Huge honour, and I can imagine he's absolutely delighted with it, with all the accolades he's won. But nonetheless, huge achievement for Mohill. Get that season up and running. They'll be quite happy with that. They face Fianna this weekend. It's going to be another tough test for the Mohill men as they approach that game in the coming days. Another game that took place over the weekend was, of course, the champions Ballinamore Shauna Heslins, and they made the journey to the new boys of this grade, Dromahair, to see how they would get on against them down in the very, very picturesque St. Osnet's community field, or just Glencar community field, where St. Osnet's formerly played. I caught up with one of their debutants and also one of the players selected on our Team of the Week this week, Paul Moran. He chipped in with 1-4 in a fairly comfortable victory for Ballinamore in the end. 120 to 8 points, the final score there for Ballinamore. I caught up with Paul earlier today to have a chat about how his season's been going so far through the league and how he's finding the step up to adult football from the minor grade. Here's what we had to chat about earlier in the day. Joining me now is one member of that Team of the Week as selected by our commentators over the last few days, and that is the youngest member of the team, Paul Moran of Ballinamore Shauna Heslins. Paul, you're very, very welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Breifne. It's a pleasure to be on it.
Well, you're very welcome, and I suppose it's welcome to the world of senior championship football as well. It's your first opportunity, fresh out of minor football, and I suppose talk to us about the game on Saturday evening, the win over Dromahair. Brand new venue to you possibly as well. Not a lot of people make that trip to St. Osnet's. Talk to us about that first of all.
Yeah, it was in the middle of nowhere, but it was a great game. Great to have a win on the debut, and Dromahair were good. They set up very defensively. We broke it down after a while, thankfully, but they were quite good now. A few young lads who are showing good promise and signs, and they're definitely ones now for the future.
Given that you're fresh on a minor, calling other lads young lads is fairly funny for a man of my vintage. In terms of the actual venue, though, as well, I suppose it's a little bit different to everything else. There's not much in the way of facilities around it, but it's in a beautiful setting. You kind of forget almost that you're playing a football match at times. Yeah,
very well looked after too. It was in great condition, and it was nearly in the middle of the mountains, so. No, it was hard found, but it was a lovely pitch, lovely surface, and a long pitch, but probably narrow at the same time, which brought a new dynamic to the game. But it was a lovely setup.
How are you finding your first year with the adult teams in the club?
That's tough. It's tough now. It was tough to get a spot on a championship winning team kind of thing, and it's been great playing with inter-county footballers and progressing so much more than you might have with underage, and it's non-stop now, and trainings are good, high numbers, and it's exciting. There's a lot more excitement around it too, and you have the crowds talking about it. It's been a good year so far, so we're looking forward to it now.
I suppose you're coming into a team not having been on the sideline last year or not been involved in the squad last year when they won that championship. How different is it for you coming in maybe without that experience, but also being on the fringes of it? Obviously, you have a brother on the panel as well. How does that work in your head?
I think I've been nearly a sort of water boy, just helping out collecting balls for 5-6 years now. So I've been there for a long time. So it's not a huge shock to the system, but actually being one of those players and being involved, it's certainly different, and it's a whole different sort of side to the game, I guess. But it's very exciting, fun almost, and it's enjoyable.
You talk about the differences. Can you give us examples of those?
Oh, well, a lot more interaction with the managers and the selectors, and just, you feel more involved. And that's the best feeling, just being involved, even not on the starting 15, the subs, the 24 that were picked. You have a lot more excitement during the weeks. We might have a sleepless night before a game or something like that. But it's definitely much better being involved than it is on the sideline or doing water boy.
Yeah, well, obviously, who wants to be the water boy? You put up with it when you have to. In terms of I suppose, that anticipation, that anxiety, whatever you want to call it, the sleepless night that you mentioned the night before the game, how did you sleep on Friday night?
Not too bad. It was Ballinamore Festival this week, and I'm doing a bit of work in the pub, so I was tired enough from that, and there was huge crowds around the town, so I was actually tired enough, so I got a good sleep. But I know you learn to deal with the pressure and the anxiety, I guess, just from a few county games. We won with the under-20s, and you learn from that, and it all helps.
Yeah, you mentioned the under-20s, of course. That's when you first probably crossed my radar, but anyone who's been following the underage county teams up through the years as well would have been very aware of you coming through. That under-20s game, so far behind against Mayo early in the second half, you came on, you made an impact, took a couple of scores as well. How much confidence did you get from that result against a team that I don't think anyone outside of the camp really expected Leitrim to put it up to, and you took the win?
Yeah, look, we ran them close, and it was disappointing not to be starting, obviously, but you just tried to make the best impact you can and be as ready as you can when you get called to come on. And we ran them very close, and we were actually hopeful of a win probably near the end, but just a little too short. But no, put us on the radar too. Like, there wasn't any talk about us for the whole year, and then all of a sudden you have a bit of chat, a bit of banter about it. So it was definitely good to run them close.
Disappointing enough by your own high standards in Ballinamore league campaign this year. Didn't make the final just on the last day of the fixtures. Does that give you a little bit of a kick to maybe push it on and maybe give this championship a better shot, or is it just, does it really matter?
No, definitely matters. Definitely. Always want to be in the finals, winning the trophies, and look, Mohill were a great outfit against us, and Carrick at the start of the year too. They were impressive. So look, we sort of move on from it, and we look forward to the championship. But it definitely is driving us on that we didn't get to be in Carrick that weekend of the final, and we didn't get to be involved. You sort of take it on the chin and you move on. But fair play to Mohill, and they deserve to win it.
Speaking of Mohill winning the league, they're your next opponents on Saturday, should I say. It's a new look draw. It's something we're all kind of getting used to. What was the thoughts in the camp, or maybe in the player WhatsApp group, when Mohill popped out of the draw, when you saw it announced yesterday?
Yeah, we're playing Carrick on Saturday.
Apologies.
This weekend.
Apologies. I mixed up my games. Yeah, of course.
No,
you play Carrick in Ballinamore, of course. Yeah.
Carrick. So, look, again, they beat us in the league. They're impressive. So we're looking forward to the challenge. Playing the best is what we want. So it's exciting, and we have a few lads coming back. Tom Pryor with a hamstring injury, and he's coming back now into the squad, and it's starting to look good. But we're definitely looking forward to the challenge. And Carrick are going to be a good outfit, and they'll set up well, and we know that. So yeah, we'll just see how it goes.
In terms of players like that coming back in, available for selection again over the coming weeks, does that put a bit of pressure on you for your place? Have you
absolutely
thoughts on that?
Absolutely. The competition is great, though. You need the competition, and especially with the amount of games we've had and the games we have coming, the depth in the squad is key. So whoever has the depth in the squad will do well. So no, competition is good, and it makes everybody improve, and there's no complacency. So you can't argue and you can't complain with it. It's brilliant.
Of course, now you won on the opening day. Carrick weren't so lucky in terms of the result that they got. They've had a fairly tight draw now. Mohill on the opening day, yourselves second day out. What's your point of view? What's the game on Saturday likely to be like for the supporter who's watching on?
Yeah, it should be exciting now. It's a must win for both of us with the new championship draw. You never know who you're going to get, but we're not looking anywhere past next Saturday. It's just one game at a time, and we take it as it comes. But But yeah, no, definitely, I'd say it adds a bit of excitement, the new draw, the new structure to the championship. It's something to talk about, and you know, there's a lot of people looking forward to yesterday afternoon at 3:30 to see who you did get, and there was a good bit of crack about it when the teams were picked out.
I can imagine. Obviously, as well, Team of the Week, we've started a new initiative on the website this week, or on the platform this week. Any messages of congratulations or any slagging over being picked?
One or two congratulations now. But no, it's a pleasure. It's lovely to be picked for it, and you know, you can't look into it too much. You sort of just you take it and you move on and try to get in it next week again. But it is just about the team.
That's what
as much as you can.
Trying to stay in that selection every single week, and maybe we'll see your name later on in the season as well. Paul, thanks very much for joining us. The very best luck. I know you're rushing away to training, so the very best luck for the weekend ahead, and also the rest of the championship. I'm sure it won't be the last we see of Ballinamore as we get towards the business end of competitions.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Breifne. Appreciate it.
And that was Paul Moran there of Ballinamore Shauna Hesslins. Just a debut, very composed young lad, and a bright future ahead for both the club and, dare I say it, potentially the county in future years. Definitely one for Mr. Andy Moran to take a note of, keep an eye out for over the course of the next few weeks. I know he's mentioned him on the show before. He's definitely on the radar now. After, if he keeps up those kind of performances, we'll hear a lot more from Paul, of course, younger brother of Shane that we alluded to, but we don't like making a big deal out of people's family connections. But yeah, good genes, as they say, in that neck of the woods. Earlier in the season, a couple of weeks ago, I caught up with Hugh Moylan of Annaduff. They had a fantastic result against Dromahair at the weekend, a very good performance in the Intermediate Championship. They started a week early, their campaign, and of course all the other teams kick off this weekend. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the programme. But first of all, here's an interview I did with Hugh Moylan just before the end of the league campaign, and we'll bring it to you today. And just one of the, I suppose, the bright up-and-comers in a team that are likely to challenge for that Intermediate Championship this year if Saturday's performance is anything to go by. Here's what myself and Hugh chatted about just a couple of weeks ago. Hugh Moylan of Annaduff, you're very, very welcome to the programme.
Yeah, cheers, Breifne. Thanks for having me.
First of all, I suppose it's been an interesting couple of weeks for everybody back in with a new look kind of league campaign. Hasn't been all plain sailing for Annaduff. 5 games played, still no points on the scoreboard in terms of the league table, but some very impressive performances, least of all, or not least of all, should I say, Saturday evening against Mohill, going right to the final whistle. A goal in the last minute kind of put a bit of a nice gloss on the scoreboard from yourselves, but it did leave a 2-point margin between the sides that you probably were worth over the 60 minutes play.
Yeah, we were down by, I think, 10 points in the second half, and in other games this year we kind of would have let the foot off the gas altogether and kind of nearly give up, but the lads kind of stuck at it the whole way through, and yeah, I think we got our just desserts. If it went on for another few minutes, you never know what could happen, but yeah, on a good side against like Mohill, and yeah, it was a good result kind of for us.
I suppose watching the game, Mohill started very brightly. We were a few points up within the first maybe 10-15 minutes. Looked like they were going to pull away from you, which unfortunately for yourselves has happened once or twice this year. You came back in that first half, and then the same kind of pattern emerged again in the second. They came out with, I think, 7 or 8 unanswered points, a goal and 5 or 6 points in the first 10 minutes of the second half, and they looked like the game was won, but you just never really gave up, and I kept battling.
Yeah, and I think we got goals at important times just to keep us in the game and keep, we 10 points was that was a big gap, but I think we got goals at the right time, bring it back to 7, bring it back to 4, and we just kicked a few scores. Yeah, as I said, unfortunately, time ran up on us in the end, but good display. Yeah.
How are Annaduff fair now? Because a lot of clubs, I suppose, are missing players. Some have chosen to go travelling after 2 summers, have not been able to do that. Others are maybe, just for different reasons, have opted out of football this year across the county. We're seeing it in small patches. How are Annaduff faring in terms of availability of players?
Yeah, we've plenty of numbers there. Lads are sticking around mostly. I know there's a few on holidays in the couple of weeks gone by and in the next few weeks, but on a whole we're fairly good. Yeah, we've good numbers out training as well, so it's really positive. Yeah.
I suppose one of the things when we look back at the game on Saturday evening, there was a moment in the second half, you're 8 or 10 points down at the time, and there was a ball, probably 90% of players would have given up on it, but you chased it, and a lovely little individual skill where you kind of played it around yourself as you were running over the end line, kept the ball in play, circled back, picked the ball up. Nobody from Mohill had come to mark you because they presumed you weren't going to get there, and you were able to build an attack right from your own end line. How much is it? How important are key moments like that in games when things aren't going your way, like on Saturday evening?
Yeah, like it can change a game altogether. Really, like I could have let that go. It could have been a point for Mohill, and we went up and got a score, and it kind of gives everyone a lift, you know. And it was kind of the whole team was like that the whole way through the game against Mohill, and Joe's every ball, get to every ball. There was no dead ball. Yeah,
but in terms of the championship, looking ahead towards the next couple of weeks, and the Intermediate Championship kicks off in a couple of weeks. Obviously, you've been in that final in the recent past. I think it was the 2020 final, but it was played at the start of last year in terms of the championship season. So you know you've had that experience in the last 12, 13 months of a big championship outing on county final day. How eager are you to get back to that level? Because I suppose maybe in that context, last year's championship campaign, probably not what you were looking for.
Yeah, I suppose we got to a semi-final and again beaten by the team that goes up. So I'm really looking forward to get back into it this year. We've a lot of younger lads there after getting a lot of time playing Division 1. We had under 20s that won a championship last year as well. So I think this year, hopefully, we'll go a long way further anyway.
Yeah, of course, you mentioned beaten by Leitrim, they got promoted, beaten by Dromahair, they got promoted. Alan Gaels now are in the mix this year for the first time in a long time since their relegation from senior championship. Who do you think are the teams to try and avoid or to try and not get early on and maybe get that run going? Are you worried about any of them?
Yeah, well, look, it's intermediate is always tricky. You know, they're all tough teams, but I'd say a lot of people would be saying Alan Gaels and Knocknasheelan. Then you always have Kiltobert, Ballinamore, all these teams from Kieran. They're all hard customers.
I noticed you didn't say Beirne neighbours down there. What's the rivalry like this year? Any expectations going in? Because you'd go into the championship as probably more favourites than they would be in terms of the results. But they had some nice performances last season, got to the quarterfinals in the end, unexpectedly. Yeah, well,
look, the Beirne are always a team that if you're close to them, come to the end of the game, they're always hard bets. So I wouldn't mind a crack at them again this year, and I'd say they'd be saying the same.
Very, very, very diplomatic, but I wonder if that's what you'd be saying. Yeah. In terms of the championship season ahead, I suppose what can we expect to see from Annaduff? Like Joe Cox at the helm again. It was a very good performance the other night. I know some of the results this year, as you mentioned, we won't dwell on them, but the Mohill game, the Leitrim Gaels game, tough to take those kind of defeats. From your point of view?
Yeah, it's up. But like we've picked positives and things to work on out with them, and we have been working on the last couple of weeks. And I think with Mohill in there at the weekend, we've seen glimpses of that coming through. So another few weeks, hopefully we'll have a lot more ironed out. And I think playing Division 1 going into Intermediate Championship is still going to be a big boost, even though we were on the end of some tricky results. But
yeah, because that's an interesting point, because obviously 5 games into a 7-game league campaign, 2 to play, your local neighbours, St Mary's await on the last day of the league season, and they're in fine form this year. Melvin Gaels have probably been in a similar position to you. They're 1 point ahead of you by virtue of a draw with Manor Hamilton on the opening weekend. You play them next. You lose their season is confirmed. You're bottom 2, you're relegated, but how important is it to get that win against Melvin Gaels and give yourself a fighting chance against St Mary's in the last round of the league? Yeah,
look, we're going to be aiming to beat them. Yeah, it's a home game as well. I know they're going to be coming down. They're going to be trying to stay up as well. So, look, if we don't beat them, we're gone in the league, and Mary's going to be very difficult then after that. So, hopefully we get 2 points against them. Yeah.
In terms of, I suppose, the outlook then coming into the championship, obviously those 2 games, you've come in off a relatively poor top division outing so far, and that hopefully will possibly change for you. But in terms of, do you feel it's better having come in, having experience at that higher level into the Intermediate Championship, or would you have preferred maybe to be in the running in Division 2 where you're winning games and building up that momentum as well?
I suppose it's kind of 50-50. Like you want to be playing at the top level wherever you can. So I think it's going to give us more space and time on the ball when it comes to intermediate, going down from Division 1 down to so basically Division 2 or intermediate. You just have that little bit more time on the ball. So I think hopefully we'll be quicker on the ball, and it's going to benefit us. But yeah, it's 50-50.
Yeah, but I suppose you'll take what you can get. I suppose in that respect,
Yeah,
you have the hand you've been dealt. In terms of the performances, they have got stronger as you've gone along the season. Is that something you'll take positives out of going into the championship campaign?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have to take your positives out of every game. I think we're building on them, and lads are improving every game. Like as I said, the under 20s there, they've got some big game time there coming up through the Spring League and the Division 1 League now as well. So I think we're in a good place, even though the results mightn't be going our way.
Speaking of those underage players coming out of the kind of the under 20s and even the new minors from last year, has anyone caught your eye that maybe the rest of the county isn't aware of yet that might maybe be making an impact in the maroon and yellow? Is it maroon and gold, maroon and yellow? I don't know. You might correct me.
Yeah, maroon and yellow. Oh yeah, like all of them have stood out at different times, but like this for Mohill on the back line, there's Francis Shanley and Daniel Busquets have been doing great work there in midfield. You have two Taylors there, Jack Hughes and Wardy up front as well. So there's lots there, to be honest. Yeah, and hopefully you get to see them now come championship.
And I saw on Saturday there was a sprightly youngster took to the field, the name of Ray Cox. What can you tell us about him? He looks like a handy prospect.
Yeah. He's I don't know if many people know him, Ray Cox. Yeah, but he's definitely one to look out for in the championship. He's definitely worth 10 or 20 minutes anyway.
Well, speaking of older statesmen, you have definitely made me feel old because our parents used to work together, and I remember when you were born, and I felt I was relatively old at that stage. So thanks for making me feel just a little bit older this evening.
No bother.
You might pass on my regards to your parents, and
I will, of course,
best of luck to you at the weekend. No, not this weekend, but obviously 2 weeks when you take on Melville Gaels at home and obviously that final game of the league and into the intermediate championship. Thanks very much for joining me.
Perfect. Cheers, Breifne. Thanks.
Kathy Butler, Chairperson of Leitrim Ladies Gaelic Football Association. It's another year for the championship. You're first in the role as Chairperson. Welcome to the position.
Thank you, Breifne. Yeah, it is. It's I suppose a new venture maybe, or adventure. Yeah, it's exciting. I suppose it's a very positive time to be involved with Leitrim Ladies. The likes of Aidan and PJ have put in a tremendous amount of work in the last number of years and have made so much progress. So it's exciting to be involved in the next phase of that and to continue their hard work.
Talk to us a little bit about the championships this year. Of course, 2 teams in the Senior A competition this year, 4 in both the A and the B. That's a little subtle difference from last year's competition. What change will that make effectively in practice?
I suppose it's quite, as you said, it's quite subtle. It probably won't make a huge difference, and the scheduling is the fixtures are there, and it kind of, I suppose last year as the competition went on, it had naturally progressed to the end point, and it worked quite well. So I think it's competitive and good that we have 2 definitive Senior A teams, and then the rest are thereabouts and going for the Senior B competition.
At the other end of the spectrum, a new club this year, Leitrim Gaels joined the fray, the 14th club in the county in terms of ladies football. How important is it to continue to see those new clubs pop up in areas like Leitrim Village?
Oh, it's absolutely vital, and it's such a fantastic progress to see the likes of that. And I suppose as well as that, like we have Melvin Gaels who've been involved at underage over the last number of years. So there are 2 clubs that have come through the underage structures, and Leitrim Gaels are that year ahead of say Melvin Gaels in progressing into the adult stages. So it's really positive. And I suppose, really looking at across the board, there were so many more teams this year with second string teams in under 12, under 14 and under 16 competitions, which just goes to show that there's that increased focus on participation across the board. So we're really delighted with that situation, and it gives a really good opportunity for as many girls as possible to play football, and that's the key. So it's a really positive step, and it's fantastic progress and fantastic to see.
How important is it to have a good, vibrant, strong club environment across the county to generate players, keep those clubs sustained, but also to provide players for the county teams over the years?
Yeah, really, I guess the two work hand in hand, in that when the county structure is strong, there's energy coming down to the clubs, and likewise when the club structures are going well and in a good healthy state, then it feeds into positive county environment. So it's I think it's very difficult to detach one from the other, and they work in tandem. So it's really positive. I suppose we've had a really maybe a mixed year in the adult competition with the adult team. It was disappointing how it finished, but the performances were excellent. It was fantastic to retain the Connacht Championship, get to the league semi-final, and probably disappointed not to get to the league final and get promotion, and then the intermediate championship didn't go as planned, but performances were excellent. The quality is there, the calibre of players is very, very high. So it's it's the future is very, very bright, and we know that. And then you look around at the club competitions, and you know that there's the same level of quality right there, ready to step in. If the question is asked. Is there
a manager there to oversee the recruitment of those players for the county? Has that been appointed yet?
The new manager hasn't been appointed yet. The closing date just passed, so we're in the process of shortlisting at the moment, and interviews will take place in the coming weeks. So I guess by the time, definitely by the 2nd or 3rd round of championship, the expectation will be that there will be a manager in place to attend matches and spot any emerging talent.
Obviously you're not going to give us details on individual candidates, but was there a good response?
Yeah, we were happy with the response. It seems to be slightly down on previous years across the country. From speaking to other counties that are recruiting at the moment as well, they seem to have a slightly lower response than previous times, but still it was good to get response, and we'll focus on the interviewing process and the recruitment process.
With the championships to come, what's the main priority for the board in terms of running off these competitions over the next few weeks?
Yeah, the scheduling has been important, and I think we're looking at I guess flexibility around scheduling is the key here, and with looking at as I alluded to already, the second teams where there's a little bit more flexibility needed to ensure that as many girls as possible get game time. That's kind of going to be the key going forward, and we're looking at development. Getting our development committee in place is a priority for August, September, to get our academies in place at our odd ages, so that, you know, to give those girls an opportunity to train outside of their club environment, and then hopefully feed into competitive teams at 14, 16 and minor, going into, you know, with a long-term process there of having academies at odd ages and competitive teams at even ages. So that's the kind of the long-term plan in terms of progress. And even this year, a feature that was mooted, or a competition that came from the floor, really, which is fantastic to see, was an under 15 competition that we just got running kind of at a short enough notice, and it's been really fantastic and very successful. So that's, you know, the kind of progress we need just to keep girls playing. And like the research would say, that it's that middle teen age bracket is where we lose girls, and girls are lost from sport, not just from ladies Gaelic football, but from sport in general. So it's important to focus on retention.
We've spoken to representatives of most of the teams in the county here today. All of them will be dreaming of maybe climbing the steps beside us here and taking that cup from you later in the summer. Any particular idea where you might be handing that cup in a couple of months' time?
Oh, it's impossible to predict. Like, really, when you're looking at fixtures across the three divisions, you're kind of looking at lots of competitive fixtures, and particularly teams that are very familiar with each other, you know, and I guess by the nature of the competitions, teams are quite familiar with their opposition, and depending on scheduling and injuries and, you know, how things, the bounce of a ball on a day, these things, there's no guarantee of who's going to be successful, and that's fantastic. That leaves it, you know, wide open for many clubs to get involved.
Excellent. Kathy, thanks very much for chatting to us. The best of luck in the running of the championships over the next couple of months.
Thanks, Breifne.
Tiffany, another year coming into a champions, potential for 3 in a row for the senior team in Glencar Manor. What's the mood in the camp like?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. We're just concentrated and focused now for championship. Really looking forward to it and enjoying the training, because the year has gone so fast already.
A little bit of a reshuffle in the dugout as well, of course. James Glancy and Jerry Hickey,
yeah,
of course. I forgot Jerry, apologies. Jerry and James in charge of the team this year. What has that brought to that kind of little bit of freshness maybe from the dugout?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's great to get a different perspective, just on training and drills, and obviously how we can improve and bits like that. But like, we'll definitely miss PC as well, because, you know, we were so fit and he brought a different edge. But the men have been great, and they've been so dedicated getting girls back that haven't played football in years, and other bits like that. So yeah, it's been an exciting year.
Of course, 2 teams win the club at junior level as well. It must be difficult to keep that going, but you seem to have kind of a really unique kind of blend between the 2 squads, where it's all kind of all for one for all kind of mentality within the club.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important as well that you do have that mentality, because like, you don't know who will get injured in a game or who you have to bring on, and it's great that you can count on your bench, you know, to come on and not really reflect how the game will go.
Not to put too much pressure on you, but that 3 in a row, it's kind of hanging over your head. Is there a chance the club can nail that again this year? Is that that's the ambition, I'm sure?
I definitely think so, yeah. It's the main aim anyways at the minute, to get that far, and yeah, I don't see why not. I think it'll be a good challenge, but we're well able for it, I think.
Where are you expecting the major challenge to come from?
All those South Leitrim games, I'd say, and even rivalries in Dromahair, I'd say it's not too far out as well. But yeah, no, definitely Cantober would be a good tough fight, and Ballinamore and St. Joe's. Sure, look, there's never going to be an easy group or an easy game, but that's the good thing about a championship. Like, it's so competitive, and you just don't know what way it'll go. So
excellent, ladies and gentlemen. The very best of luck to you and your teammates.
Thank you.
St. Joseph's, another campaign finalist last year. What is the mood in the camp like this year? Can you go one step further?
I think so. Like, personally, I do think so. We were delighted to win the Senior B last year, and then I just think we just fell a bit short on the Senior A final against Manor. You know, we did have a lot of injuries, but, you know, it's no excuse. They were definitely the better team on the day, and, you know, kudos to them.
A few players obviously coming back from county football over the last few weeks and months, really. They bring that experience back into that St. Joseph's field. What's the addition of those players coming back? What kind of experience does that add to the squad?
You know, it's brilliant. Like, we have I think it's 7 county players. So, you know, Claire Owens, obviously she's the captain, and she's a great like role model and leader on the team, especially with the young girls coming up. You know, Siobhan McCarthy, the Hess, Brona, years, it is a stepping stone really to getting back into that A final and hopefully winning it this year.
It's been a late change of management within the club. Has that impacted your preparations at all, or are you happy now just to get going under the new management team?
No, I think there was some late changes, but Martin Dolan, he's trained Leitrim in the past. He's brilliant really for us. He's a great trainer, and then we have Sandra, obviously she was with us last year, and then Eamon, well I suppose he's always been around, Eamon Heslin. He's always been big in St. Joseph's, so it's nice to have a good management from around.
In terms of your own involvement, obviously the Leaving Search this year, you've just finished that.
Yeah.
How'd it go, first of all?
Good, just glad it's over, to be honest.
Does it give you that little bit of enjoyment now that there's a whole new thing happening, whether it's college or whatever you're going on to in the autumn, where you don't have that over your head?
Oh yeah, exactly. But championship is running very late. I think the finals are on 2nd of October. So it is very late in. We'll just be starting college, but I think travelling down.
It's going to affect Freshers Week, isn't it?
It'll be grand. Doesn't matter. Championship's more important.
Talking about the championship finalists last year against Manor,
yeah.
You're in the senior grade now, so the senior B is not an option this year. What's the expectation? What will constitute a good campaign for you this year?
Hopefully it is. I think we need to finish in the top 2, and it is just getting to the final. Hopefully beating whatever we come up against. Whether it be Ballinamore, Manor, Kiltubert. There's so many in the mix this year. Just hoping we finish the line.
You've just given St. Francis and Dromahair an opportunity to knock you down if you get there as well. But listen, Rachel, thanks very much for chatting to us, and the very, very best of luck for you and your St. Joseph's teammates this year. Ballinamore, Sean Heslins. It's another campaign here. How's the things looking in the camp for Ballinamore this year?
Yeah, no, we're excited. We're in the Division 1 League final tomorrow, so we'll take that. We're all prepped ready for that, and we'll take that in our stride. And then it should be a tough game. Of course, Manor are tough competition.
Yeah, of course, there's also other teams in the competition that you have to look at maybe before that. In terms of the opening rounds of the championship, have you even thought about that yet, or is it still focused on the league?
Is get the league over with. Championship is always in the back of the mind. I think we're just taking one game at a time, see how tomorrow goes, and then we'll go for the championship from there.
In terms of your own expectations this year, obviously senior B finalists last year were beaten by St. Joseph's in that clash. Can you take that title this year? Is that kind of the minimum target?
No, it's not the minimum target, no. Hope to get back into the B final again and progress. But yeah, disappointed last year with the results, not what we wanted, but fair play to St. Joseph's. But yeah, hopefully this year we get a better result.
There's been very little between yourselves, St. Joseph's and Manor, as you mentioned, over the last few seasons. What's going to give you a little bit of an edge that maybe you can finally get across that and secure a title this year?
I mean, we have such young, talented girls coming up. I know we got hit with a few injuries this year, but the panel is unbelievable. The subs that we can bring on, I think that's our main element. But yeah, like that, each team, you just have to take it as they are. They're all brilliant.
What's the hope for the year? Is it a champion title within the grasp of?
That's always the hope, but we'll try our best.
The boys put it up to you last year, right?
I know.
No pressure.
No pressure at all.
Well, listen, Leanne, the very best of luck to you for the season ahead, and I'm sure we'll be chatting to you and your teammates over the year.
Lovely, thanks very much.
Hi, another season in the Kiltubert colours this year. Excited to get back playing?
Yeah, very much looking forward to it. Great to be in a position to play, and definitely looking forward to the championship kicking off now in 2 weeks.
I suppose Kiltubert have had an impressive league run so far this year. Senior B Championship, obviously first and foremost. Senior A, of course, is a bonus. What's the outlook for the team for the season ahead? What's the plan?
Yeah, it's just started. I suppose first game is St. Francis, so we're not looking past that for the moment. But that's where our focus is right now. So just to get the performance there, that's going to be step one, and hopefully build on that as we go.
Of course, St. Joseph's out of the reckoning for that Senior B Championship. It's kind of giving you a nice little window there for a clean run at potentially a final for most pundits at least. You haven't even thought maybe towards a championship final, or is it really just...
I think in Leitrim, I think championship is wide open. Senior A, Senior B, it's always a hugely competitive championship. So no, we're just focused on that first game, get that win under our belt, and move on from there. Yeah.
What can you tell us about the squad? Any major changes from last year, new additions?
Yeah, no, just building. I suppose a few nice younger players. Stepped up last year, so they've had that experience of last year under their belt. Bringing that into next year and this year. So yeah, no, building, training's going well. Everyone's looking forward to it. Yeah.
Excellent. Of course, new facilities there launched last weekend. There must be a lot of a buzz around the team and around the club, just with everything that's kind of starting to come together, really, to build a nice little home for the club there in Drumcon.
Yeah, we had an absolutely fantastic weekend. Last weekend, I suppose, the official reopening. So yeah, just a really, really enjoyable club weekend. Huge, phenomenal amount of work has gone into getting the facilities to where they are today, and a huge amount of people just giving up their time volunteering, every sort of job you could name. There was somebody down doing it, so there's great community spirit, I suppose, in getting it across the line and getting it ready. And yeah, we've got something down there that we're extremely proud of, and fantastic facilities hopefully for years to come as well, to build on and continue to develop. So yeah, something we're really, really proud of and delighted with. Yeah,
and hopefully we'll see plenty of good performances and maybe even some victories on that ground this year. Sinead, very best luck here for the season ahead.
Great, thanks Maria.
Marie, Dromahair, first year back in the senior grade, you must be delighted, chomping at the bit to get going.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's great to be back up in senior finally, so we're excited to get going for the championship. Yeah,
and of course, first day out, county champions, local rivalry, doesn't get much bigger than that.
Yeah, no, local derby, but it'll be a great day. It'll be a great game for us to get started in the championship, see where we are, see where they are even as senior champions, to see how we can push on for the rest of the championship. So we're looking forward to it.
What is the mood in the camp like?
Good, yeah, the league has been good for us. It's been a good warm-up for us. We've had some good games, and tomorrow hopefully we'll get started again for the senior championship, so we can push on from tomorrow's league game, hopefully.
Am I right in saying that your club train in the mornings versus the evenings? It's a very different style.
We have had a couple of trainings in the morning. At the weekends we definitely train in the morning, and then we've been known to have a 6 a.m. training every now and again.
Like, there's people listening to this now that'll be like going, what? Explain how that works, because obviously, do you like that as a player, or is it something a bit different?
Yeah, I mean, it's however we can get the most players to train, and so whenever we can get the most girls is when we'll train, and when the girls are willing to train. Like, the commitment is good, the girls are willing to train, we want to be there, and the more people we can get at training, the better training we have and the more competitive it is. So it's better preparation, so we're willing to do whatever we need to do.
It's 10 years since you came up into the senior grade and won it the first time we're asking. It's a different landscape now. Maybe the game across the board is a little bit stronger, and the gap is maybe just a little bit wider. Is it something you could possibly think of repeating this year?
I mean, definitely. The change is huge. The physicality in the game now, the way the game is played now is completely different, but we're hoping to stay up in senior and hopefully be competitive this year. So we'll see how we go. You never know where we might go this year.
What would be success this year? Would a Senior B final maybe, or a Senior B championship even?
Senior B championship would definitely be a success. Staying up in senior is definitely our number one goal, and then we'll push on and see where we can go from there.
Excellent. Listen, the best of luck for the year
ahead.
Thank
you so much.
Ava Murray there, rounding off all the senior clubs taking part in the championship this year. Apologies, when I was on earlier, a few audio issues. Didn't realise I was muted, so we might take a quick run back through the fixtures and results in the senior championship at the end of this piece on the ladies football championship, which of course kicks off this weekend. We're going to continue with the girls, and we have the 5 intermediate sides, their representatives from the launch last week, starting off with Charlene Tyrrell from Mohill. Here's what we spoke about at the launch last Saturday week.
Tyrrell and Mohill this year preparing for the intermediate championship once again. A little bit disappointed maybe to be back in the intermediate championship after some relative successes last year, a draw with the eventual champions Manor.
Last year was a bit of a struggle for us to get consistent performances back to back. Looking back, we should have beat Hamilton that day, but then just fell short against the other teams. So for us, to get relegated was really disappointing. I think some of the games came down to nearly just bad luck, and then games where we're missing key players, like Dervla, Nicole Higgins and Claire Beirne. So yeah, it was just a brief stint up in senior, but anyway, look.
You're back at another crack at the intermediate championship this year. Yeah. Some stiff competition though. St Mary's have been coming for the last few years, and St Bridget's again rebuilding, look quite strong this year. What's the expectation within Mohill?
Well, we played St Mary's in the Spring League, and they beat us, and they beat us a few weeks ago there in the league to find themselves in the league final. So we're completely aware of the threat they pose in winning the championship. I don't remember playing when I last played St Bridget's, but and Kildare Gaels as well, so it'll be a hard one to call. We had change of management again when we came down from senior, and then last year with different management, and we struggled this year to get management, so it's just sort of starting to get going. But sure, you know yourself, when championship comes around, it's a different ball game to league. So, but yeah, we're well aware of the threat that every team pose. But we just want to win intermediate championship and get back up to senior and give it a proper go.
Listen, the very, very best of luck to you in that expectation this year.
Win intermediate championship.
Casey Brune, St Mary's captain for this year. It's another intermediate championship campaign. Got to the final last year.
Yeah.
Can we go that extra step this year?
Hopefully it'll go a little bit better for us this year, because last year was just it was a big disappointment for us, and we got so far. We did very well in the semi-final to beat Bridget's, and then Dromahair were just at another level on the day of the final. So hopefully we'll get there again this year.
There's a lot of consistency with the team, same management team more or less from last year. A lot of the same players, same faces we recognise from the St Mary's team sheet over the last couple of seasons. Does that help when you're preparing for a campaign that you're just almost at the edge of?
Yeah, it does. We're kind of getting, like, we're obviously more used to playing with each other, and we had the last couple of years we had the younger girls coming up, like a lot of under 16 minors. So like they've had 2 years now under their belt, like playing with us. So it does help when you're playing with the same people, like over and over again. You just get used to how everyone plays.
The captaincy, of course, as well. Your brother, the captain of Leitrim Seniors at the moment. But you're not the only Brune on the team. Did you have a fight at home about the captaincy with Elise? Did you win that fight?
Oh, sure. Look, wasn't our decision. They thought they put the best person in charge. Obviously, I know. There wasn't too much fighting. Sure, she was happy enough to see me captain as well.
Absolutely. In terms of the next couple of weeks, though, the first few rounds of the league or the championship, how important is it to get those wins up and running and get that kind of momentum to build you into a championship campaign?
Yeah, it's very important. We saw from the league there, we won each of our matches in the league, so we topped our group, and it does it gives you a bit of confidence going into we have a final tomorrow, so it gives us a bit of confidence going into that. So it'll be the exact same for championship, just take each game as it comes, and our first game is against Mohill, so that'll be a tricky one, but hopefully
it doesn't get much harder than that at this level.
We'll come out on top.
Listen, thank you very much for talking to us, and the very best of luck for the season ahead.
Thanks very much, Breifne.
The St Bridget's again preparing for the intermediate championship this season. You've been very, very bright in the league so far. Some really good performances. A nice backbone of inter-county players there as well. What's the expectation? What's the mood like in the camp for Bridget's this year?
I think it's really positive. As you said, we're kind of coming off our league in the senior league, so it's actually quite a great experience for everyone to be able to play all the top teams in Leitrim, which will definitely set us up for intermediate championship this year. Like you said, we have lots of county stars as well, which is great and stabilises the team, but we also have great underage coming up, which is really exciting, as we amalgamated there a couple of years ago. So
in terms of that, obviously players from all three men's traditional clubs, at least Drumreilly, Auchasheelan, as well as Mohill, who will be a former powerhouse in the ladies game. There's the signs of that kind of coming back in terms of some of the youngsters that are coming through in their late teens, early 20s, like Shiva Quinn's breaking into the county team, and her sister Avine, as well as a few others as well. Ashling, another cousin. It's like the whole family. But it's there's some really, really good young players coming through in Bridget's. And is there an intermediate championship in there? Because everyone's talking about maybe Mohill and Carrick, but you're kind of the dark horses in that contest this year.
Listen, we love a bit of competition. We love being able to prove people wrong as well, and like you said, we're building up. We have loads of new girls and young girls coming through from our underage, so we're excited for the challenge and can't wait for the championship.
Does the fact that you played in Division 1 and not against your direct rivals in the championship, does that give you that little kind of mystique about you this season?
Listen, we have great experience, that's for sure. Ladies football in Leitrim has gone leaps and bounds over the last decade for sure, and there's really nothing in between it, just luck on the day, so we're looking forward to this year.
Listen, very best of luck.
Thank you very much.
You're here another year at Drumkeeran, intermediate championships this year, I guess second year in a row. Nice to kind of consolidate and build within the club.
That's it, definitely, yeah. Our first championship game now is 21st of August against Fianna. Always a tight game with us, always up the years since under 14s, always been Fianna Drumkeeran rivalry, and they won junior championship last year should I say, so more than likely they'll be itching to keep up in intermediate this year now, and our first game will be a tough battle.
In terms of the team this year, the outlook this year? A lot of new girls into the team, young girls coming in through.
100%, yeah. We're all flying into training. Everyone's putting in the effort. 20 plus at training, which is always be good for games. Trying to get the tactics in, etc. For our junior league final tomorrow against Annaduff. We are looking flying fit for it as well. So hopefully we come home with the cup at 1 o'clock tomorrow.
You played them a couple of weeks ago, and
we played them.
Power kind of.
The second half, our Amory Gallagher, our key onion bag score, got 6 in a row, I think, at one stage. But that might not happen tomorrow if shot on form, so you can't be bag on that either. Annaduff's a strong team. They've good key players as well. We need to keep them quiet.
You lose Anne-Marie for the championship campaign, though. I believe she's
sadly she's
moving
moving
away
to Brisbane, the day of our FINA game, so we won't have her for the last 4 games against Mohill and Carrick and Bridget. So like you said, the young girls need to step up now.
In terms of I suppose the club, it's a rare thing in Leitrim ladies football now to have one small town, one club. A lot of teams have amalgamated. Drumkeeran have held that identity. How important is that for the players?
I think that we hold ourselves very well with that as our title, to be honest with you, in the sense that we've never even delved into the thought that someone else amalgamate with us. We've always kind of pushed on and had that small intimate group, and the key players that push us on. It's important.
Listen, very, very best of luck to you.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Thank you.
Honeyman back for another year of championship action, coming into the junior championship as junior champions last year. You must be excited about the year ahead.
This year we kind of started off slow in the league, but we're getting up and running now, hopefully getting everybody back together and hoping for another good cracker of a year.
Obviously you had a higher grade this year. You struggled for numbers a little bit towards the start of last year, but it came good in the championship campaign. What's the outlook going into the next couple of weeks?
Good, as I said, we did start off slow this year with numbers again for the league, but we're coming good now and hopefully hoping to go in strong to it. And
what's the expectations for the year?
Hard to know now at the minute. Just everybody's kind of iffy at the minute, but we're hoping for the best.
New management, of course, as well this year. Hugh Reynolds returns to the fold in FINA terms, obviously well known within the club, within the county as well. What has he brought to the equation?
New training, new excitement. It's great to have new people on the panel training, new faces. We have Mary McGovern there as well as a selector. They're running the crap out of us, but we're getting there.
In terms of what the expectations for the year, obviously the team coming up generally struggles to get to the pace of it, with maybe the girls who were playing senior football last year. What's the hope for the year? Is it a case of consolidation of that grade, or is there a championship in this team?
Being optimistic maybe, but just hoping to stay up is the aim at all possible.
Listen, well, the very best of luck this year.
Thanks very much.
I've done it again, but I caught myself this time. That was Elizabeth Honeyman from FINA, rounding up at the last of the games from the ladies intermediate and obviously the senior before that championship, which all kicks off this weekend. 5 games across the top 2 divisions in the ladies game in this Sunday morning, 11 a.m. throw-ins across the board. At the moment, those games always liable to just a little bit of movement around those games. So do check with the home side or your club just to make sure that the game is going ahead at the time that is planned. We'll try and bring you the latest updates to that on finalwhistle.ie on the ladies football section of the site there. In terms of the show, that is pretty much it. Just one last final reminder, just that this does come out this week. It is the Leitrim Club Championship Guide, and it will be in all good shops around the county from probably Wednesday of this week. So do keep an eye out for it when you're doing your shop this week. It's got information on every single player in the county, all 39 clubs, men's, women's and the hurling teams. Of course, across the rest of the summer, you can keep tabs on everybody who's featuring both in the book and also on our website, finalwhistle.ie. A bit of a big gang of you watching today. It's been a higher number than always. It's always nice to see a bit of engagement on the show, and delighted to have you. I've been Breifne, of course. Just before we go, we will remind you, we've spoken about it enough over the last couple of days, but just to remind you of who actually made that team of the week. and that we're going to be doing on a weekly basis, just as I struggle to bring it up here in front of me, but you can see it there yourselves. In goals, Brendan Flynn of Leitrim Gaels, James Mitchell of Mohill, Dylan Keane of Annaduff, and Mark Fox of Glencar Manor Hamilton complete the full back line, while Will McKeown, Shane Quinn, and Oisin Madden, the latter two for Mohill, Wayne McKeown, obviously from Ballinamore, Sean Heslins, are the half-back line, while at midfield, Shane Moran of Ballinamore, Sean Heslins, and James McGrail of St Mary's Kiltarrard will form that centre partnership on the Team of the Week this week. In the forwards, on the half-forward line, you've Shane's younger brother, Paul Moran, his first ever appearance at senior championship level after just becoming eligible this year. He's Ballinamore, Sean Heslins, obviously. At centre forward, Keith Beirne, 9 points for him against St Mary's. As we mentioned, we heard from him earlier in the show. We heard from both Paul and Keith earlier in the show. And Ryan O'Rourke, Fianna St. Collins, he took home, I think, one. I can't remember off the top of my head what he scored, but it was a fairly impressive tally by anybody's account in that game. I think it was 1-8 by open to correction on that, but you will find it on leaguedownfinalwhistle.ie if you go look for it. Conor Gaffney, 7 points for him for Dromahair in their defeat to Annaduff on Saturday evening, while Kyogan McGovern of Courtletra takes the full forward spot. Stephen Goldrick, 2-3 from him against Glencar Manor. He takes the final spot of the team. We're going to be doing that every week, either late Sunday or early Monday. We'll announce the team of the week, and it will include all the games from the weekend. A couple of notable mentions today. I know we mentioned in the article earlier on the website, at midfield, Paul Keeney, Colin Morton, very unlucky to miss out, and Conor Beirne, of course, in the junior grade. Very impressive tally for him this week, but just misses out on that final 15 selection, but well worthy of a comment, at least in terms of the selection process. All of our commentators across the county would have put their opinions into the pot, and that's what we came up with. We'll be doing that every week, as we said, but of course, don't forget, you can catch every single senior and intermediate championship game and ladies senior games on our live commentary. You'll get it on finalwhistle.ie/live, but also on the Leitrim GAA website. There's no reason to miss any game now, no matter where you are in the country or indeed in the world. Live, full audio from our commentators over the course of the next weekend, and of course for the entire championship to go. Don't forget, if you want to support what we do get your hands on this book. I promise you're going to love it. We'll be back with you next week again for a look at next weekend's games. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be back again next week. Talk to you then.